Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the weekly English shooting live stream. Thank you very much for joining as we discuss all the past week's shooting news and topics. For anybody new, please get involved. Use that chat box if they've got any questions about UK law, about guns, getting into shooting, starting shooting, any questions around shooting or firearms ownership, be that in the UK or internationally. I'll try and answer your questions as best as possible. And there are always people with more experience and knowledge in the comment section and chat section as well. So I'm sure they will try and help you out if I can't or if I don't get around to your question. And of course, for anybody returning, thank you. It's always appreciated. You know what the deal is. Get involved. Have your opinions heard, whether you agree or disagree with what is being said. Please use that chat box and get involved. Most importantly, above everything else, make sure that you hit that like button and make sure you are subscribed. As a reminder, you can now catch this on Spotify. There's the English Shooting podcast, so all of the live streams will be put up there in audio form, so you can check that out and listen on your way into work or sat there out in the garden listening to me chirping on. Whatever you want to do, however you want to consume me, you can do it in a variety of ways now. So yes, welcome back to the stream. And do not adjust your TV sets. Do not check your connection with your headphones or your speakers, or again, however you are listening to this. We have some good news, and not just the one piece of good news. Actually, doing my usual scans before a stream of what's happened, what's going on. Checking BASC, always an interesting source of information and knowledge. Field Sports channel and Field Sports News, again, a fantastic channel to keep up to date on everything. And Google and all, just general Facebook as well. I literally couldn't find a bad piece of news this week. I don't know what is going on. I almost didn't do the stream. I have to be honest. If there's nothing negative to bring us down, then what's the point? If there's nothing to really rant about, then what's the point? But yeah, I'll try and embrace the positivity here and the good news. So if you've been living under a rock for the past few weeks, then you might not know about this massive, pretty significant, in some cases vital consultation that is going on. Let me just bring this up for you guys. So this is consultations. Just first and foremost, let's get it out of the way. I'm going to put the link in the chat box. Again, I will try and remember to put it in the comment section afterwards if you're watching this after the live stream. But there is the link. Go through, fill it out. If you need some guidance on it, because I haven't pulled my finger out and done the video, then you can use BASC's recommended. I don't agree entirely with BASC's answers, but it's certainly better than nothing if you want some guidance, if you want some help in filling out the over the consultation. So on that note, I am going to try and keep myself sane throughout the live stream and actually film the video going through the questions. It's probably gonna be a 10, maybe 15-minute video that should be out this Sunday, because I realize there's also another consultation that you guys should all be signing that everyone seems to have sort of swept under the rug, which is the Scottish consultation on it's the PDR, public, is it public development? I can't remember. Permitted development rights. Again, I'll put that link in the chat box now, because you do need to go and do that one as well. So basically, I need to film 2 videos in the next week or 2. Otherwise, there's not going to be enough time to sort of push out the word. Anyway, life gets in the way. So there's this really important consultation that you should definitely go and complete. It is absolutely vital, and this is all around the changes that have been recommended to the Home Office due to the horrific events that happened on I think it was the Isle of Skye, and also down in Keyham. And the coroners have wrote their reports, and the coroners just don't talk about the let's say the biology of someone dying or how they've died. A coroner will go and review the law. They will go and review certain processes that led up to somebody's death, not actually the sort of physical biological death itself. And certainly the coroner in Plymouth has made a number of significant recommendations, one of which was to combine the shotgun and firearm certificate. So for anybody that's not au fait with UK law, we pretty much have two certificates. We have a shotgun certificate, which covers shotguns, restricted capacity if they are a semi-auto or pump action, to a 2+1, two in the magazine, one in the chamber. And then we have a firearm certificate that pretty much covers everything else that we can own: black powder guns, long barrel pistols, because we're not allowed short one because of Dunblane, rifles, let's say unrestricted capacity shotguns, everything else that isn't a full bore um, or center fire semi-automatic rifle or a handgun or pistol, whatever. So we have these two certificates. Getting a shotgun certificate is arguably a lot easier to obtain than a firearm certificate. There you need one less referee. You don't need the same good reason. Usually that's being a full member of a club, which can take 3, 6, 9, 12 months, depending on the club. And there is a higher burden on yourself to be able to demonstrate that you're serious and really want these firearms for good reason. Shotgun, it's not like they give it out to anybody, but you have to be really doing something bad to not be able to get one. Anyway, so basically what they were proposing was to combine both of those to basically make it much harder to get a shotgun certificate, which means that the gateway into live fire shooting and to firearms ownership would become instantly a lot harder, because a lot of people start with a shotgun certificate and then move on to a firearm certificate. So they wanted to make it significantly harder. They wanted to make massive changes to firearms licensing and all of this. Now, not everything is going ahead. Fortunately, the combining or combination of the two certificates is not going ahead. But there are still a lot of changes on the table. Some that could be very, very bad for us. There's a whole sub conversation about entry to firearms owners' homes and police wanting these powers to sort of go through. I'll bring up the consultation now so you can have a little look. So it's this bang, set in the middle. No, sat in the middle, sat at the start. Do you consider that police should be granted specific power of entry without a warrant issued by a magistrate or sheriff to be able to seize shotguns, firearms, and ammunition where there is a risk to the public safety or the peace, and the certificate holder does not cooperate with the police and agree to voluntarily surrender? So this is just scary as all hell, and obviously this is still something that is on the table. This is something that is still up for discussion, and it shouldn't be. And you can have your say. You can have your say on this consultation. I cannot stress enough, and I really do not want to hear, "Oh, it makes no difference. I don't care." I don't care if it makes a difference or not. It doesn't cost you anything. It's literally a couple of minutes of your time. There is literally no harm in doing it, but there could potentially be a lot of harm in not doing it. So don't use that excuse. You're just lazy and feckless if you can't spend the 2 minutes to complete this consultation. Anyway, so we have this consultation, but the really good news, because usually when we have important consultations like this, people don't seem to take them seriously. People go, "Oh, other people will fill it in. One extra person doesn't matter." Well, if enough people take that attitude, then there's more people not bothering than actually bothering. And there's a lot of people that seem to think that these don't make a difference, even though previously in a consultation that only had 2,500 responses, a lot of the really bad suggestions were rejected because of the consultation. So let that sink in for a moment. 2,500 people, which is a pitiful number to respond to a consultation about firearms, given the fact that there's 600,000 people here in the UK that have certificates. 2,500. It's like there's probably more people with Section 5 authority, right? Maybe not that much. There's got to be more RFDs. There's got to be more RFDs than 2,500. Anyway, pitiful amount, but it still had the effect that we wanted and that we needed, and the potentially disastrous changes in our laws were rejected because of those 2,500 people that responded. And the fantastic news is that people seem to be taking this seriously. It might have something to do with the fact that BASC and the NRA and Countryside Alliance, for once, are making a big deal of it. The previous consultations seem to get forgotten about because there's people like myself and other, say, smaller channels, smaller Facebook pages shouting from the high heavens about this and trying to get people to respond. And then you have BASC that love to boast how many members they've got, 150,000 at the last count that they released. And they've got the voice, they've got the ability, the following to be able to really make a difference. And they just waste it. They do one social media post and that's it. No email, nothing on their site. But this time has been very, very different, and the response has been very, very different as well, which is fantastic to see. It really gives me a boost of confidence in this community that we haven't actually given up, because I do spend a lot of my time contemplating whether people have actually given up on everything. So field sports news, BASC say firearms consultation response is overwhelming, 60,000 responses. I did see somebody actually mentioned, so Brian Solomon saying over 92,000 responses to the consultation. I'd be interesting to see where your source is for that, because obviously that's an extra 50% of people. But this figure, the 60,000 in this video, came from Martin Parker from BASC, who's the head of their firearms department. So it's pretty, BASC were in talking with the Home Office, and they obviously know what's they have a direct line. But if you have a source for the 92,000, I'd be very interested to hear where that's come from. So BASC say the response to firearms consultation is overwhelming. It says the Home Office has already had around 60,000 responses. BASC will add to this by sending the comments it has received to the Home Office on August the 23rd. 2023. So you only have until then, which is why I really need to film this video before the 8-week consultation ends. BASC welcomes the government's rejection of putting shotguns on firearm certificates, but says it's vital that shooters continue to make their views known on more than a dozen other suggestions, including giving police more powers to search and seize guns from home. So I really cannot stress why it is, whilst it is absolutely amazing to see that, to see the response, and 10% of certificate holders effectively have responded. Well, 10% is not in the scheme of things, is not a huge amount. There's still 90%. 90% of people or certificate holders within the UK that need to respond. And it's all well and good looking at that and going, oh, 60,000 people have responded. Well, do we know if they are oh, Brian, you hit the nine key, not the 6. Okay, so it is 60,000, right? So do we know that is 60,000 firearms owners? Do we know that that's 60,000 shooters, people within the shooting industry? That might be 60,000 people that the gun control network has managed to somehow rally up. And even though it's just one sort of demented lady trying to spout her just unfounded opinions on firearms law, but we don't know to the extent of where the balance is at the moment. I would say there's a very good chance that it's predominantly 60,000 shooters, but we cannot rest on that. And the danger of going out there and going, it is fantastic news, this is great, everyone should clap, job well done, is that we take the foot off the accelerator. At the end of the day, there are still 700, at least 500,000 people, just in terms of certificate holders, that should be putting their name on this consultation, completing this consultation. Airgun shooters should be putting their name on this consultation and completing it. Skirmishers, paintballers, anybody to do with any form of shooting, be that target shooting, hunting, skirmishing, whatever. Even if you're into collecting, you're into antiques, not even antique firearms, just antiques and history in general. It is incredibly important that we keep our foot on the accelerator on this, and we break that 100,000 mark. Like, that's, to me, I think that is really the bare minimum to say. Again, it's still not a huge amount. 100,000, you're talking what, like 16-17% of certificate holders. Nothing necessarily to celebrate, but compared to other consultation, compared to the petitions that we've seen in the past and other consultations, I would take 100,000 as a win. And I think that's ultimately down to just the everyday shooter. That's, you and I, anybody watching, sharing this and talking about it. I've heard so many people doing fantastic work in going down to their local club and just in the coffee room, in the clubhouse, bringing it up in in conversation. Maybe you've already talked about it half a dozen times at the clubhouse. Bring it up again. There might be that one or two people in there that haven't heard of it. One or two people that may be going to another club that haven't heard about it. And this is how things can propagate. It's not just about one person or one organization shouting very, very loudly. It's about all of us collectively just talking about it. If we all whispered about it, to every single certificate holder, to every firearms owner you knew, we would have an incredibly loud voice collectively. So it really comes down to everyone to share it on Facebook, to send it to an email, through emails, through Messenger, put it in Facebook shooting groups, just forums, wherever you can post about it, wherever you can talk about it. And I get a lot of people emailing and messaging going, oh, I always try to get my club into this sort of stuff. I always try to talk about it, and I always get shut down. I get people going, oh, I'm not interested in that. They are in the wrong, right? Do not feel ashamed or embarrassed or shy in trying to protect this sport, in trying to share an incredibly important consultation and trying to plead, if necessary, with people to get to sign it. You are not in the wrong. You are not asking to be, you're not being unreasonable in any way. Talk about it, share it, and get people to sign it. If we hit that 100,000 mark, it's a significant number for a number of reasons. Yes, I'd love to be going for the 500,000, which I think is easily achievable, or 1,000,000, which I think also is easily achievable, given the fact that there's millions of air gunners here within the UK. But 100,000, I think that sends a very clear message at the very least, 100,000 to the Home Office, to the police, to the powers that be, that actually the sport is very much listening. The sport very much has a voice, and when we need to, when we are encouraged correctly by our national governing bodies, our associations, our organizations, when everybody does their job, we can actually come together and have an effect. We can influence stuff. And then again, bringing you back to that consultation previously, the firearm safety consultation, I think it was 2,500 people responded to that, and yet we were able to have a positive change. So imagine 60, 100,000 people, what sort of change that is likely to bring. And it's not just stopping the changes that we don't want, or encouraging the changes that have been suggested that we do want, if there are any. Um, it's also about the any other business, the any other comments box, anything else that you want to suggest to the Home Office, you want to suggest to the police. You can have that opportunity in this consultation, and it will be read. So if enough people, things, silly things in the scheme of things, like putting, getting moderators off ticket, like removing the limitations on how much ammunition you can store, things that we all know make absolutely no difference, or just don't prevent crime in any which way. getting those off tickets. Use this opportunity of, if you are going to make changes, if you are going to potentially reform firearms licensing and maybe even firearms law, then this is the time to get rid of the time sinks, the admin sinks, the time wasting laws that don't achieve anything, like moderators on tickets, like ammunition restrictions. You could even go as far to suggest, with firearm certificates, why do we have slots, right? Yes, you need good reason for every um, every firearm that you buy. You need a good reason to have a firearm certificate. But really, if you're going to give somebody a 308, why does it matter if they have 5 of them? Why does it matter if you give somebody if you allow somebody to have a 308? What difference does it make if they have a 223 or even a 22? It's, maybe these are the sort of changes that we do need. Whilst in some ways they're looking to make things harder, actually making things easier will free up time of our firearms licensing departments. It will give them the time and resources back to really focus on the real issues, the real concerns, and the things that really do make a difference in terms of keeping the public safe. So there we go. Fill in the consultation. Do not forget about it. Do not leave it. And I promise there will be a video out succinctly going through all of the questions as quickly as possible. I am aiming for Sunday because we also have that the other consultation, the permitted development rights consultation, that also needs some good time and acknowledgement and publicity around, and good responses. Because that one will absolutely, for those of you that, that we have talked about it on the live stream, it's this consultation here, Scottish Government Review of Permitted Development Rights. This is really a shining example of a backdoor ban. Really nothing to do with shooting on the face of it. Permitted development rights, basically, if you land usage in the UK can be incredibly restrictive, but permitted development rights basically gives you some sort of flexibility. And permitted development rights have a little sort of clause in there, which is you can use any land for up to 28 days a year without the need for planning permission. So you could technically start a go-kart track or a shooting range. Why did I go for go-kart track? Like, we're talking about shooting here. You could start a shooting range or a clay pigeon ground or whatever without planning permission, as long as you don't do it over 28 days. So for a lot of the smaller clubs, certainly as a lot of the clubs that are just starting out, that are fledgling, this permitted development rights is incredibly important, because it allows a club to get established. You don't just flick the switch and suddenly have a club with 200 members that are paying £100 a year and generating £20,000 just out of nothing. And I say £20,000 because it can cost 5, 10, £20,000, up to £20,000 to go and get planning permission. So you need that established club, that 150, just say 200 members, or 200 members 200 members, 300 members, whatever. You need that established club. You need the revenue and the capital to be able to go and get the planning permission. So when these clubs start out, they usually only start off with 3-4 people, just usually friends, people, acquaintances that all have the same passion about shooting, and they want to start something in their area that doesn't already exist, that they're currently traveling an hour and a half, 2 hours for, but they want on their doorstep. That's how a lot of shooting ranges start. And what they are proposing in this consultation is to remove them, is to remove that development right for shooting, right? So it's nothing to do with public safety or the preservation of tranquil areas. This is purely um, focused on shooting. This is purely a backdoor ban to really make it as difficult as possible for new clubs to establish themselves, and nothing really to do with what permitted development or planning law is really about. Usually these these ranges that are set up after under permitted development rights, they're first of all they're not in populated, largely populated areas or populated areas at all. And furthermore, the reason that we have the 28-day rule is because actually once every 2 weeks isn't really a nuisance, right? That's the whole point of it. Like if you live somewhere and one day in every 2 weeks, most likely going to be a Saturday or Sunday, you can hear, quiet pops and bangs in the distance. By definition, if you start up a shooting range, you're not going to put it right by a house because you sort of need a backstop and a danger area. So there's usually quite a lot of distance between you and any properties. Not all the time, but usually that's when you go to look for a range, you want it really in the middle of nowhere. So your the noise levels are never going to be that disruptive, and it's going to be once every 2 weeks. So like again, it's all mitigated. It's ridiculous what they are, the damage that they are saying that shooting ranges like this cause. It's effectively lies and a backdoor ban. Anyway, there will be a video coming out on that very soon. Let's have a look at what you guys are saying for a sec before we get on to another piece of really good news. I am actually going to have a little bit of a rant first, though. This has nothing to do with shooting, but everything to do with the drink. Now, I am a connoisseur of squash. If you didn't know, squash is usually my go-to because I don't actually drink tea or coffee, and I can't always be drinking beer or wine. It just doesn't work very well. So squash is usually my go-to. And I don't know if this is an international craze, but certainly anybody that in the UK, right, you can probably sympathise with this switch to double strength concentrate. So doubling the strength, so you have to use half as much, and that doesn't sound like a big change, right? But for 30 odd years, I have dialed in the squash strength that I like. And it will vary from brand to brand, but I can't just half it. It's the pour time. That's okay, just half the pour time, but it's not because it's not a constant pour. I've dialed in, my pour, and moving to double strength has completely screwed that up. And I've only just recovered about it. I've only just really got I've expedited. I've had 30 years on single strength, a couple of years on double strength, and I've just about got there. And now they're bringing out quad strength. Like, where is this going? There's going to be like an 8 strength or a 16 strength at some point. You're literally going to have to show some water, some concentrate, and it's going to be too fucking strong. So yeah, whoever is in the home office, department of squash, please stop screwing with it, please, because I've like squash is just not the same for me anymore. It's far too strong. Like quads, like just a little splash and it's too strong. Anyway, it can't be a stream without a rant, even if it's not about shooting. But let me know. Have you suffered from this as well? Maybe there should be a petition. Bring back single strength. I get okay. We save the birds because there's less lorries on the roads. You know, I'm a shooter. I go and shoot birds. It doesn't matter. You give me quadruple strength and shoot and save some birds. There's just more to shoot, right? It's and I'll be grumpy about it. I'll be like, oh, you wanted to save the birds. Well, I'm going to counter that. Anyway, moving on. Coming soon, Magload Orange Squash. Absolutely. Single strength Magload Orange Squash. Yeah, as you can say, I get really passionate about the smallest of things. Just don't mess with a man squash. Just it's too strong. Seriously, the first time I didn't actually read the bloody bottle. I mean, yeah, maybe I should, but I didn't expect them to be changing up on me like that. And the squash that I made, Jesus, It was like snorting a line of sherbet. Just like, oh, and you do that, and it happens, especially if you've made the switch from single to double strength recently. You do that sip. Oh, that's too strong, and you get some water. I was there for about 5 minutes. Ooh, no, a bit more water. Oh, fuck. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Back onto shooting. Um, can't rant about politics. Target squash. Yes. No. Nobody is safe. Nobody is safe. Where was the consquashtation on it? Oh dear. Um, it really genuinely bugs me. Really does. Maybe that's just a sign of actually how good this week has been for me to be just getting upset about squash and not some ridiculous thing that BASC have said or some ridiculous law that the Home Office trying to sneak under us. But let's have a look at what you're saying. Rick B, all good news and Callum happy with BASC. That's the final sign for the start of the apocalypse. How true, how true. Yes, we need to be careful. These are weird, strange times. Even weirder, Connors was smiling today as well. There is something is afoot. Tell you what, like I could even go as far to say maybe even my FAC could come through the door at some point. Now that really would be the beginning of the apocalypse. Like that would just you'd have these implosions across the universe, mainly around Hampshire firearms licensing. But it's yeah, it's a weird time. Maybe maybe things are on the up. Ben Swan, wouldn't merging them make an FAC more expensive? Well, they're looking. This is one of the things that we forget. Again, I literally have this sat here because this is my streaming bench. This news article here. Is this the one where they talk about the fees? No, this was all about. No, it was another gun trade news, which I think I've long disposed of. Anyway, they were talking about putting the fees of the certificates up to about 250 pounds, I think, with the figures being thrown away or thrown around. Like this is the thing is they do like to think that we're stupid. It's like, oh, Scottish consultation on permitted development rights that is going to drastically affect shooting ranges consultation that ends on the 23rd of August. Then we've got this other consultation which could potentially massively change how firearms licensing works, firearms law that also ends on the 23rd of the 23rd of August. And then we have all these other talks that we've had for the last 6 months about fees going up and this, that, and the other. And it's like they all think we stupid. There is this one goal, right? There is this one sort of vision and task that they or destination that they're trying to go to, and all of these things are going to come together into one big change. I really do feel that that is what is in the air is a massive overhaul, either of firearms licensing, either of guidance, either of the law, or all of them. And I think there's been all of this. I've only been into shooting sports for like 12 or 13 years now. So in the scheme of things, it's not I haven't seen it all. I haven't done it all, certainly. And obviously some of the biggest changes that we saw were like 25 years ago. And whilst I was alive, I was on this planet and alive at that time, I certainly don't remember the politics around it. Anyway, certainly in the time that I've been involved in this sport and I've been involved in this industry, I've not seen this much chatter, this much talk in all of these different areas, and there just is this sort of overwhelming buzz that something big is going to happen, something big is going to, or our law, our guidance, firearms licensing is going to change in a big way. It's sort of gearing up to this big shift. And I don't think it's the first time that I've said it on this channel. And we just have to hope. Well, not just hope, because there is action that we can do, like filling in these consultations. We have to ensure, not hope, we have to ensure that whatever shift is coming, it's it's not all going to be good. Let's be realist here. It's not like we're going to get handguns back and semi-automatic rifle, full bore rifles, and all of that, and you'll be able to get your shotgun license back at the post office. It's not going to be that sort of shift, right? There is going to be some negative, but what we have to make sure is that it's overall positive. It's things like ensuring that certificates only take a maximum of 3 months. That would breathe such a fresh breath of air into this sport. It would reinvigorate a lot of people that are thinking, or that have thought, that have sat on the fence about getting in this sport, because one of the biggest barriers at the moment, it isn't the cost. We've broken it down so many times. You can get into this sport for a few £100. The biggest barrier is the time and the hoops and the hurdles that people have to jump through. So if you make sure that the application process is as streamlined and easy and logical as possible, and that there are performance limits, on, well, not performance limits, but certainly, you know, underperforming restrictions or penalties for firearms licensing departments to ensure only a few months turnaround, that will encourage so many more people into the sport. So we need to ensure whatever shift I think is coming, it's ultimately overall beneficial for the sport, and it's overall positive for the sport. That we're going to have to take some hits here and there, that's for sure, but we have to ensure that overall it works for us more than it works for the antis, more than it works for the people that want to see private firearms ownership ended. But yeah, it would make FACs potentially more expensive. The short answer to your question. Callum, you are always saying join slash be in a club to get your FAC. You do not have to be. I've been shooting 60 years and never been in a club. Brian, I completely get this. It's like it's the whole thing of saying you can't have handguns in the UK. That's actually very, very wrong. You can have handguns here in the UK, specifically Northern Ireland, Isle of Man, Guernsey, I think, as well. And you can have handguns in England, Scotland, and Wales as well, just under certain circumstances or with certain restrictions. And yes, completely get that. There are a multitude of ways of getting firearms certificates, and I do try to periodically sort of talk about that and go over that, or refresh on it. The reason I always say about the club is because for the majority of people, that is how they get an FAC. For the majority of people, that's the easiest, most straightforward way to get into this sport. Because joining a club, you don't need to know anybody. Right, there's a lot of people, a lot of messages and emails that I get of people going, look, I don't know anybody that owns firearms, I don't know anybody that shoots, I don't know where to start. And every single time it's just find a local club, right? Because at a club there will be people that know about this, there will be people that own firearms, and they will be able to help you. So that's just what I default to, and I always say, go and get a club. Yes, you can do the whole hunting and mentorship, and you can demonstrate to the police that you've been mentored by somebody, and you have, or not necessarily specifically mentored, but you have gained the necessary skills and experience and knowledge to be a proficient, safe shooter within a hunting environment. Out there in the fields, you be that deer stalking, pest control, foxing, whatever, lamping, and they will give you a certificate because you can demonstrate a good reason. You can demonstrate a good reason because you may already have permissions. You've already, you've got the need to go out there and hunt these and control the pests. But also you can demonstrate that you're not going to be a danger to the public or the peace because you have the relevant skills and knowledge to not be a danger, to make sure that you're safe. So yes, that is another way. And of course, another way that people get into firearms ownership and getting a firearm certificate is through collection. You don't actually have to demonstrate any ability or skill with a firearm, or even technically knowledge with a firearm to be able to own one if it's around collection. So, if you you're into your World War One, World War Two, or I don't know, you're just into firearms in general, or there's other history artifacts that you're into that firearms um, become a part of, or is an obvious addition, then you can go to your local firearms department and say, I'm into my World War II stuff and I want to start collecting. As I've already got the bayonets, I've already got the helmets, I've got the boots, I've got all of this other memorabilia, and now I want the rifles. I want actual, used in World War II, battle hardened Lee Enfields are part of my collections. And I've heard of, people that they have armories full of hundreds of different, just Lee Enfields, right? And they don't shoot them. They never see a range, which is a bit of a sacrilege, really. And they literally just have them for collection. 7.3, the whole section 7.3, which allows people to have handguns for the purpose of collection. Usually it's quite difficult to get that first one, but the whole defense, the whole justification for obtaining 7.3 is having firearms that are historically significant, that have history behind them, that you don't want to see destroyed, and you have a passion and general hobby around. But once you've got that first one, because 7.3 is effectively all around the history and the collecting of firearms, yes, there are, I'm sure there will be some beard strokers out there going, no, 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 that's not it. That's, generally speaking, sue me. Because it's predominantly about collection. Once you've got that first one, well, you're a collector. So it's natural and justified that you're going to want a second one, and then you're going to want a third one, and then you're going to want a fourth and a fifth, and so on and so forth. And I've said before so many times on this channel, when it comes to collection, like I know people with 7.3 collections where they have like 50 guns. And one of the most popular collecting sort of areas or collecting themes are basically 9/11 derivatives, or guns, gun designs inspired by John Browning or something like that, right? And there's one person, I'm not going to say the club or their name, but they had 50 or 60 7.3 guns, and they had gotten to the point where they had pretty much collected every 1911 of every year since the first 1911, to the point where they were able to justify buying brand new Wilson Combat 1911s, because they had everything else. They had everything previous to the modern day 1911. So it does only make logical sense that to be able to continue that collection, it would be a modern gun. Now, it wasn't just an off-the-shelf one, it was a special, like, significant model or limited edition that they had made. But yeah, so collecting is very much a part of firearms ownership, and things like 7.3. And for those that don't know what 7.3 is, there is a video on the channel, and I do, it does make me laugh every single time I talk about 7.3, every single time I make a video about it. People lose their minds. They absolutely lose their minds. Mainly because I'm not an expert on it, far from it, right? I try and do the best research that I can and try to relay as much as possible about it. But there's this group of strokey beards out there that absolutely lose their mind when I talk about it. One, because they want to hide it. They don't want anyone to know about it, because it's like, oh, if people know about it, they'll take it away. No, if people know about it, more people will do it, and it will be harder to take away. Right? If you're a secret little club, it's very easy for them to take it away from you, because nobody knows about it and nobody cares and nobody is going to be there to defend you. But if you get enough people into it, it's going to be even harder. And then they are really strokey, beardy sort of clipboard people. I think I said something along the lines of, there's like a dozen or so sites in the UK where you can use a 7.3 gun, And they were like, no, 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 it's 12. It's not a dozen or so, it's 12. But those sort of people, those sort of people. And also, not once I've heard it's beautiful. It's sort of why I get encouraged to do it. Um, like these people that complain. It's there's one guy in particular. I'm not going to name names, but the same people over and over again that complain about it. Not once have they ever come to me directly. Not once have they ever emailed, messaged, phoned. Like, it's not exactly difficult to phone me. You go on maglo.co.uk, get the office number, and go, "Can I speak to Callum, please?" Like, it doesn't take a genius to get hold of me. I can be difficult to get hold of. I admit that, but if you there's multiple channels, not once. They always go to people that they know me to pass on the message. And I'm like, I'm sorry. If you feel that passionate about something, that incorrect information is being put out there, or better information could be put out there, if you feel that passionate about it, go to me directly. Like, come to me directly. Don't moan and bitch about it to my friend. Anyway, sorry. So it's that I don't. This is the problem. I need a rant. This is I think I'm working. I think I'm realizing the rant isn't for you, it's for me. This is my therapy every week. And if there's nothing else to rant about, I'll turn on the shooting community. Uh we're getting sidetracked here. But anyway, hit that like button. Anyway, I was getting on to what 7.3 is. Whew. And I'll try not get diverted or go down any side routes or moan about any grumpy, strokey beard men. Um, so 7.3, right. When they banned the handguns in 1997, there were obviously historically significant handguns that either were worth a ridiculous amount of money, like high-end collectibles, or guns that maybe it's not about value, but literally cannot be replaced. And we would be destroying history if they were to be destroyed, or it just wouldn't be right for it to go international. A bit of British history, either the person that used it, where it was used, what that gun ended up doing, or whatever. So when they banned handguns for sport and general ownership here within England, Scotland, and Wales, they created Section 7.1 and Section 7.3 of the Firearms Act, and it was to allow historically significant firearms to still be owned under a Section 1 certificate. So you still need a firearm certificate, a Section 1 certificate. And the guns are actually, I believe, are put on your Section 1 certificate, but it's done under 7.3, 7.1. And the general differences between 7.1 and 7.3 is that with 7.1, you're allowed to have the guns at home, but you're not allowed any ammunition, or you're not allowed to shoot them. They are usually guns that are not are obsolete caliber, but aren't under the obsolete caliber list, or they're almost obsolete calibers, or they can just be guns that they could technically be in a 9mm, but you're not going to store 9mm at home. You're not going to shoot the gun. And 7.3, you're still allowed to go and shoot the firearm, but it has to be stored at a designated site. And Bisley is probably one of the biggest and most well-known sites for this. And I think it's Charles Moore that they put down the shutters and they literally lock you in the range to be able to, and then open up the lock boxes and hand you your gun, and then you can shoot it. So it's very controlled, very restrictive, but it allows people that want to own these significantly important, historically significant handguns to own them. So very, very important. And what I've said for a number of years, and why I literally do not care about these old grumpy strokey beard men. Well, I would imagine they would be strokey beard men, not necessarily women, but you never know these days. So they the reason, like, I really don't care for the dislike of making it public or talking about it is because I think it's one of the key elements of any sort of push to be able to get handguns back normally, right? Because there are, to my knowledge, hundreds of people, if not thousands, that take part in Section 7.3 shooting most weeks. And there is definitely a very logical and pretty strong argument to say if there are already normal people going to the range every weekend, booking out a handgun and shooting it, and we've never had an instance of one of those guns being used in crime. We've never had an instance of an accident or misuse. Why can't we extend that to sporting firearms? Right? Why can't, like we have already seen, Section 5 being extended to Olympic team members so that they're able to shoot and train here within England, Scotland, or Wales. And we've seen the number of Section 5 sporting certificates extended to more and more people. And it is sort of a slowly catchy monkey. But I think 7.1 and 7.3 is a very good argument that we can use. And the more people that is doing it, the stronger that community becomes. The better the argument becomes for, well, here we have these ranges that allow people to shoot pistols, these obviously horrifically dangerous firearms, without incident every single week. Why can't we extend that to more and more people? So yes, I don't, and the whole notion of keeping little areas of our sport, of this community, of this industry secret or under wraps, no, it doesn't fly with me. Never have, never will. Yeah, so don't tell me about your secret little clubs, because I don't care. Like I will just talk about it if I believe it's beneficial for the shooting industry or shooting community to know about it. I will talk about it. No, not even if I believe. If there is any new area of shooting, it's going to be talked about, right? Because we might as well just not talk about shooting, right? Might as well not talk about the fact that you can own firearms in the UK. Let's see how long that makes our sport lasts. Anyway, I'm getting um really sidetracked. We're complaining about 21 degrees. What? It is a bit hot tonight. I am a bit stuffy. Black guinea pig. You can't have 9mm on 7.1. Okay, so 7.1 permits certain pistols manufactured prior to 1st of January 1919, and for which ammunition is not readily available to be held at home as part of a collection without ammunition. So how does that how much how does that prevent 9mm being on 7.1? I'm gonna I know I'm about to get into a history argument with a history buff, but I am brave. I have Google at my disposal. When was the first 9mm handgun? 1902. DWM firearms designer George Luger developed the 9mm Parabellum as a surface cartridge designed for the DWM Luger semi-automatic pistol called the pistol Parabellum, aka the Luger. So whilst you're saying, so I get what you're saying in terms of it's usually really old historic firearms which wouldn't normally or necessarily be in 9mm. But when you say for which ammunition is not readily available, there's some subjectiveness in there, and I will say I'm pretty sure there are or was it 9mm? Was it 9mm? There. Let's just say I am aware of at least one 7.1 collector who also happens to be an RFD, right? So it's like, Yeah, 7.1. I'm not going to have the ammunition, but I'm an RFD and I hold and sell ammunition. So it's yeah. Is the 9mm is the 9mm specifically excluded? Because when you say it's not readily available to be held at home, like I could argue the definition of readily available. Readily available to whom? Because if you have 7.1 but you don't have any ammunition, well, that's not readily available to you because you can't buy it. But anyway, um, um, you can expand. You can expand on it. You can still own a lot of firearms at home that would otherwise be prohibited. I think that's the main point. Being not being non-bearded beardy, I don't 100% agree with about the characterization. There are lots of pressures on 7.3 and 7.1 at the moment, and I understand the concerns about misrepresenting what the purpose is. I get it. I 100% I get it, right? And as I said, I always try my absolute best to ensure that what is being put out there is factual and correct. And I try to do as much research to ensure that as possible. Um, but I'm not an expert in this field. I've never claimed to be an expert in any form of firearms, specifically 7.1 and specifically 7.3. And I think even in the video that I've done about 7.3, I declared that. And what I say to now, yourself included, Black Guinea Pig, for obvious reasons. But what I say to these people every single time that really get their knickers in a twist about it is, well, why don't you talk about it? Right? It's an area of shooting that should, like, all areas should be shared, right? What we're doing is not illegal. So if we treat it like we're doing something illegal and we're treating it like we're doing something wrong, people are going to think we're doing something wrong or that we're doing something illegal, right? But yeah, we can own handguns, whoop-de-doo, and nobody gets hurt or nobody gets killed. What's the issue here? So that's always my main point, is if it's so imperative to make sure that the information is out there correct, why don't they make a video on it? Why don't they share it? Why don't they come onto the channel and talk to me about it? And that's why obviously I exclude yourself, Black Guinea Pig, because obviously we're actually trying to hook up and talk about the I've forgotten the name of the bloody gun. Um, you're gonna shoot me. I'm tired. All right, I'm tired and it's late, and I've got a video to film after this. Um, I want to say Maxim. Is it Maxim? No, machine gun. It's the Machine Gun Society. Um, I know it's going to come up in a second, and I'm going to kick myself. Anyway, you've offered to get that onto the channel and get an expert on here to talk about it, which again I commend. And you are more than willing to come on here and go, actually, this is more like it. This is, speaking from Vickers. That's it. Thank you, hippie. Um, Maxim. It's going to be known as the um, it's going to be known as the Maxim Society now. You wait until the video. Um, yeah, Vickers, the Vickers collection. So yeah, and I genuinely appreciate it. I do appreciate the making sure that we are as factually correct as possible. The actual beardy grumpy old men that don't want to engage and just want to sit there and moan, fuck them. Black, if you want 9mm on section 7, it's going to be on 7.3. You can have stuff like 4.55 on both. Georgie J, the ammunition can't be in modern production, I believe. So some types of 9mm can be owned on section 1, but the modern stuff can't. Is 7.3. Black Guinea Pig, 45 and 9mm will only be granted on 7.3. Stuff like the RFD situation does happen, but yes, 9mm and 45 straight won't be granted. Section 7 discussions are quite one-sided. Well, yeah, that's the other thing, and correct me. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there's like a panel. There's basically like this panel that you need to go and apply to, and they're the ones that say yes or no whether you get your 7.1 or your 7.3. And can like, do I have the power to like change someone's username as it appears? Because I would just change Heppies to Hippie. That's why it's what you're going to be known as. From now on. Anyway, yes, I completely forgotten how we got onto that, but there is a little bit of additional positive news. I know this is really weird. So last week, you may remember there was a story, really quite astounding, really, about it's riot squad. No, armed police, like an armed police unit turned up. Where is it? Let's find it. Is it the first story? Is it back down here? Yeah. So a bunch of pigeon shooters out there minding their own business, shooting some pigeons, doing what they want to do. And next minute, armed police turn up. And despite showing them their certificates, despite showing them the permission to be on the land shooting, and despite the landowner turning up to say, no, everything is kosher. They have permission. They're allowed to be here. They're lawful. Like, you know, like, take it from me, I'm the landowner. If there were people around here with illegal firearms, I'd be the first one calling you guys. Despite doing everything right and providing everything that they possibly could to convince the police, the police confiscated their guns. And as I said last week, they didn't necessarily confiscate, they stole them. They, you know, it's their lawful property that these people were in lawful possession of in a activity that was lawful, and the police came and took their guns. Right? They stole them. It was theft. But the good news is, again, thanks to Field Sports News for covering this. The guns have now been handed back. Greater Manchester Police has handed back guns its officers seized from pigeon shooters. As reported in Field Sports News last week, James Crowther, who runs the Upperwood Estate Shoot in Lancaster, was out pigeon shooting with friends when armed police behind riot shield swooped in to seize their guns. Even though the pigeon shooters showed their certificates and the farmer confirmed he had asked for crop protection, the officers took the guns. BASC's North Director Duncan Thomas confirms the Manchester force has now returned the guns and is launching an internal review. He says the shooters are making a formal complaint. He says BASC has offered officers the training that is already delivered to other forces as well. Like, I'm sorry, there needs to be compensation for that, right? You put somebody in an incredibly scary situation. You know, you're stood there in a field, and next minute you've got riot shielded, body armor, ballistic helmet, you know, machine gun wielding armed police coming over the fence at you. That's not a situation I ever want to find myself in, and that's not a situation I would wish any lawful shooter to find themselves in as well. And so to go through that, to, you know, have your property taken away, which is, you know, and bearing in mind, it looks like it is soaking in that video, right? You can just tell. Let me try and bring it up again. Maybe it's just the quality, but it looks sodden and misty and wet, right? And okay, they're pigeon shooters, right? That's, you know, if you don't want to get wet, don't go pigeon shooting. But you can see by the ground how sodden it is and how wet it's been, and the fact that they're all in their rain gear. You can just see, you know, the fog on the camera. It's wet, right? So they've been out there pigeon shooting. Oh, need to make it big. There we go. Anyway, let's have a look again. Yeah, you can see from the ground, you can see from their raincoats, you can see by the general sort of mist and fog on the lens. It's wet, right? They've been out all day. Well, they've been out there with their guns, and the guns have got wet. Did the police take those guns back to the armory and give them a wipe down and an oil and a clean to make sure that they didn't sit there for the next week rusting? Because I bet you they didn't. I bet the guns that they got handed back, their property they got handed back, were most certainly in a far worse condition than when they were taken off of them. Right. So where's the compensation for the damage? Where's the consult the compensation for the damage, the compensation for any potential repair, recerakoting, rebluing, maybe even a new firearm? Because to be honest, there's some guns out there, like my silver pigeon. No, my silver pigeon I wouldn't replace. But I would certainly want it back. I wouldn't want it touched up. I would want it back to the condition before they took it. So then there's the loss of the farmer, right? Are these pest controllers being paid? Are they losing any revenue? Has their reputation been damaged because they've been accosted by armed police? Are other landowners going to want them on their land knowing that they've been through this previously? So you've got reputational damage, you've got potentially emotional trauma, having armed police come at you while you're holding guns out stood in the middle of nowhere. You've got the inconvenience, you've there's so much, the potential property damage, all of this, right? Compensation. I don't think there is anyone that can argue that they should not be compensated. The police have made a mistake. People have suffered in some way, as much or as little as you want to attribute. That needs compensation. Like, I don't care. Yes, every time there's a firearm involved, the police need to take it seriously, and perhaps they need to take it more seriously than other reports of potential crime. Right? I get it, and I get that the police have a attitude of better to be safe than sorry. But when you do make a mistake, you need to rectify it. And handing somebody's gun over a week back, that's handing people's guns back a week later after putting them through it and maybe just saying sorry is not enough. There needs to be actual consequence to the action so that they maybe think next time, right? Or maybe that comes into their decision. Oh, if I get this wrong, what else could I do? Oh, let's phone the firearms licensing. Oh, wait, they're only open 10 till 2, Tuesday to Thursday. Maybe that's what they need, is they need to ensure that there's a firearm inquiry officer available 24/7. You have perhaps you need an on-call FEO, and a knowledgeable FEO, so they can literally go, look, we've got, we can verify the ID. They're happy to get, stop somebody in a car, pull them over, run their ID, and they're happy enough that they've been verified, that they're insured, that they've got a license, and that they're capable and safe to jump back in the car and drive, so that they can ID somebody at the side of the road and be confident that they're in lawful possession of that car to drive at 70 mile an hour down the road and let them go off. So, but they're not. Then there's no possible way that they can accurately identify that somebody is in lawful possession of a firearm on the side of the road, right? I'm sorry, but the statistics show that allowing people to hurtle down the road at 70 mile an hour in a 2-ton bit of metal is significantly more dangerous than letting somebody out there in the shoot pigeons in a field. So yeah, they can verify driver's identity at the road. They should be able to verify firearms owners at the side of the road or in the middle of a field. But maybe that's part of the potential reform, is that there is a requirement to have an on-call firearm inquiry officer that can log into the system, that may even know these guys. Oh, so and so, yeah, I'm actually their FEO. Yeah, they're good. Don't worry about them. They're like, it's not difficult. Do these guys have shooting insurance? They need it. Again, this is one of the points that I made last week. Just because you think that you're holier than thou, that You're never going to find yourself in a situation where you're going to have issues with the police, or you're going to have your licenses taken away, or you're going to have your guns taken away. You can do absolutely everything right and just find yourself in the wrong time, in the wrong place at the wrong time, right? So yes, I hope they do have insurance, and I hope their insurance also has, they have legal expenses insurance, and that also triggers them being able to take them to court and sue them for damages. Was it not armed robbery rather than a simple theft? Yes, going equipped. A typical plod screw up, the shooters suffer. Sorry, not sorry. But ultimately, whilst we're saying how ridiculous it was, that they ended up having taken their guns taken away, and I hope they get some sort of compensation for what they've been through. The silver lining now is that they've got their guns back, right? Maybe a week later than it needed to be, but they have their guns back, and maybe not like outright good news. Oh no, I'm gonna go into another one. I'm gonna segue nicely. In terms of getting guns back, there is one particular MOD department that hasn't been able to get their guns, or one singular gun, back. And that is the Royal Marines of all people. Assault rifle lost by Royal Marines during training on Dartmoor. And this is it's sort of a bit of a nothing story in a way, other than the fact that there's, a Section 5, probably select fire SA-80 lurking about in the moors for anybody to pick up and do what with. I mean, that's news, right? But this is, again, I always like highlighting these sort of stories, because time and time again, lawful firearms owners get the finger pointed at them, and they get the blame for losing firearms that end up in, criminals' hand. They end up losing firearms that go on to commit crime. And I've done it before, and I will do it again if needed. The freedom of information requests that I've done, the police and the MOD, just in the UK, because obviously when you're out in a battlefield being shot at, I can forgive somebody dropping. Well, again, it's like rule number one of being in war. You do not lose your gun. But I can understand being shot at with, RPGs going overhead, and mines and whatever, that sort of environment. Can't even begin to imagine what it's like to be in a proper active war zone. That is more forgivable. I was running and I dropped my pistol. I was running, and literally it was, it was lose the gun and live, or keep hold of the gun and be shot, right? Whatever. That's understandable. But when you're on a training exercise in Dartmoor, in Devon, on the south coast of the UK, yeah, you're simulated being shot at. Maybe depends on the exercise, but it's not exactly a life or death situation, right? I don't think there's the same justification or acceptable excuse. It's just, unfortunately, just a little bit of laziness, and I think it's well, it's not good. Black Guinea Pig, not going to be. This is the first rifle lost by the MOD in 2 years. I don't know about that. MOD gun lost, because there was a where is it? Well, 2 years. It depends when in 2 years. When you're talking about. So there was this story that we talked about recently, comparing 2022 to 2021. A comparison between 2021 and 22 figures improved security measures. In 2021, the following weapons and explosive munitions were lost were recorded as lost or stolen. 2 SA-80 cadet rifles stolen. Ooh. 1 Glock 17, 1 GPMG. Right. And various munitions lost. I don't know if it actually has any figures for 2022. Oh, here we go. So the Freedom of Information request, the Ministry of Defense disclosed the loss of weapons, hundreds of munitions, and over 100 electronic devices throughout 2022. So it lost, according to the response, 1 Glock pistol, 1 GPMG, and 1 deactivated AK-47 were recorded as lost following those quantities of that quantity of ammunition. In 2021, those are 2 SA-80 deactivated pistols, 1 pistol, and an MG. What about 2022? I know obviously it's the deactivated AK. Anyway, but based on that, I'm pretty confident it's an annual basis. I can't remember stick Apple AirTags on them. Oh, please, please, no live rifles in 2022. But they're losing Glocks. But they're still losing Glocks. It's okay. GPMGs tend to be lost as they sink very well. Like, I get it, you know, and you say train hard and all of that. My point being, I did say rifles. No live rifles in 2022. What? Anyway, my main point is I'm not having a go at the MOD. I'm not having a go at the police in terms of losing guns, in terms of misplacing them and all of that. What I have an issue with is when they come so hard at lawful firearms owners, when they are like, "Oh, it is impossible that anybody has any justification or rationale or reasoning that you could ever misplace or lose or have stolen a gun." And if lawful firearms owners, if certificate holders are just going to be so blatantly incompetent and blatantly laissez-faire about the security of their firearms, then we should really question whether people should be able to privately own guns. And that is maybe not verbatim, but pretty much along the lines of the argument that is used every single time, or the sort of statements that come out every single time when they release the annual statistics around the amount of firearms that are lost or stolen that were on a firearm certificate or shotgun certificate privately owned. And not forgetting that usually they end up they go firearms, you know, oh, it was 1,000 firearms. And then it turns out that like 300 of those were moderators and 200 of those were like licensed parts, like, you know, a barrel or a bolt. Yes, again, I'm not saying that we should be throwing them out like sweeties. But when you actually dive into the numbers that they overinflate, it's actually like, well, comparably, whether you inflate the numbers like they do or not, statistically speaking, the MOD and the police annually proportionately lose more firearms per head than lawful firearms owners. And again, I'm not having a go at them. I can understand in certain situations when you're running through a bog being chased by a tank or whatever, you know, something might get into a ditch that's unretrievable. You know, I can understand. Like, we're human, right? At the end of the day, accidents happen, and you know that I'm not saying, oh, it's okay. You know, we can lose as many guns as possible because accidents happen, but people make mistakes. Accidents do happen. What I have a massive objection about is that lawful firearms owners are held to this impossible standard when statistically MOD and police on UK soil are losing more firearms. Like that should raise something to the Home Office or to these people that think that we're literally handing firearms to criminals by losing them and having them stolen. It's like, no, no, actually, we're doing better than the armed forces. We're doing better than our armed police in terms of making sure that we hold on to the firearms, and not forgetting that the largest proportion of guns that are lost or stolen are over and under and side by side shotguns, not Glock 9mm pistols, not 223 or 556 SA80s or MP5s or G36s or whatever the armed police are using. Like, there's, yes, all guns are capable of killing, but a criminal is going to want a Glock a lot more than they're going to want Grandad side by side. Anyway, that argument about barrels, the same with the GPMGs. GPMG barrels will count. Again, I'm not, it's not about, we shouldn't be in, the finger pointing game, right? My whole thing on this is that every single time we get the we get the finger pointed at us, and it's just like, well, if we're going to start a game of pointing fingers, I think we should be pointing it back at you. That's all this is about, right? It's only about putting things into context and putting things into perspective. If you're worried about the number of guns that lawful firearms owners are losing or having stolen, and that is a genuine, real, let's not sleep about it concern that you have, perhaps you should be worried more about the amount or the rate of firearms and munitions that the armed forces and police are using first. Like, that's really the general sentiment, right? Once they get their numbers proportionately down, then you can come back to us and maybe we'll work on ours, and maybe together we can get it down to zero. I get the point, but I'm not sure the facts support it. Going what it's like, the video is, oh god, it's like 6 or 7 years now. I went and I got I went and did freedom of information requests to, I think it was the 10 largest police forces in the country, and the MOD, and all of the freedom of information requests were like, they're shown in the video. At that point in time, right? Yes, okay, it was a long time ago. At that point in time, proportionately, based on the number of, I think I even did it like, I was as generous as possible, and I think I said the number of police officers, not the number of armed police officers, and I said the number of MOD personnel, not serving personnel, right? I really tried to make the numbers as big on their side as possible, to make it as better on the MOD and the police side as possible. And even in doing that, they were still proportionately losing more guns than us. It was like per head, they were losing more guns than we were. That go and watch the video. It's somewhere. It will be something like MOD loses guns. It was a while ago, and I apologize in advance, because it was a while ago. Black Guinea Pig, 190,000 people lost one pistol, one GPMG barrel, and a deactivated AK in a year. As a percentage, that's less than civilians, potentially. Based on the figures that I had at the time, that was the overall crux of it. That's why I made that video. Again, even if the figures have fallen and come down now, and the MOD and the police are proportionately losing less guns, they're still losing guns, right? I think the general message is that shit happens, people make mistakes, accidents happen. Should we stop? Like, the question is, should we stop our armed forces from training on Dartmoor in case more firearms are lost? Right? Because the question is always asked, should we allow private ownership of firearms because guns are lost? Right? It's the same argument, and it would be ridiculous to support the former, and it would be ridiculous to perform the latter, to enforce the latter as well. It's just, again, putting things into perspective. And anyway, I've seen you far more many times with a sword as well. Where are the statistics with swords being lost? But yes, anybody fancies an SA80, go for a stroll around Dartmouth. You might get lucky. Please, I just caveat, if you do happen to go for a walk around Dartmouth and you come across an SA80, hand it in, please. Just get that. Cover myself on that one. Don't play silly buggers with it. Certainly don't go selling parts to Suffolk Rifle Company. That didn't end well last time. Moving on swiftly. Something again. Oh, something again more positive, more positivity. Oh, this feels weird and tingly. Just something that I wanted to give a shout out about, because I saw this and it just made me smile. And this is why I support these guys, and I recommend people go and check them out, and support them as well. More importantly, so Double Juice firing range, right? They are doing a phenomenal job, just like with Phoenix shooting range up in Barnsley, doing a fantastic job. I think really sort of second to none in getting people pulling triggers. And that's the best way to grow this sport. It's the best way to defend this sport and ensure that this sport continues, is actually getting people pulling triggers and putting smiles on their faces while they do it. So forget blowing out your birthday candles. Why not shoot them out instead? I've never seen something so cool. It's a shame. It is a shame. So, I won't reveal a lady's age, but it is my birthday on Sunday. I don't think I'm going to be able to get down to the range because this, or maybe I just go into the unit and I'll do it with an action air gun. I think Connors would disapprove if I did it with 2.2 or anything larger. But anyway, I just think this is a brilliant idea. It's brilliant on so many levels, right? It really accentuates the fun of shooting, right? The that you can do it for a bit of a laugh, that you can do it for a bit of fun, but also fair play on the marketing of this. Like it is on my wish list. It is on my wish board. My goals at some point is to have a range like Double Juice or Phoenix. Like it's something that I'm continuously looking at, continuously pursuing. And when we do, I am stealing this. Like I'm just putting that out there. Sorry, guys. This will have whatever logo I decide for the range, maybe ES. It is going on there. I am stealing this because it is just an absolutely fantastic idea, and the marketing of it, putting that out there, just oh, you can go shooting for your birthday. It's just brilliant. Fair play. And I just wanted to share it. So if you want to go out and shoot some candles out on your birthday, then head over to Double Juice firing range. Another bit of sort of positive news as well. We touched on this last week, which is this water company. So this with water company United Utilities owns a vast plot of land, and for years have leased that out to gamekeepers and shoots and allowed game shooting to take place on its land. And the news came out that they were going to, I think it was by 2027, I think it was, maybe. No, there's no more information on this one, but it was basically within the next few years they wanted to remove all sort of shooting licenses or shooting agreements that they had, or leases. They had taken the decision not to renew shooting leases on its land, affecting both upland and lowland landscapes. And the real oversight of this is, the people that they're leasing that land to are going to be doing significant work to maintain the land. And I think it's one of these business moves that they think, oh, think how cool we're going to look with all the, with all the tree huggers and the just stop oilers and all of this. We're not allowing birds to be murdered on our land. Look how good we are. And then give it a few years, and they realize actually, like the additional cost in maintaining that land, the loss that they're going to have in that land because it's not being maintained. Then they're going to be thinking, yeah, okay, yeah, we look really good and we got a load of brownie points, but actually this is costing us money now. We had these people that were already very skilled and passionate and hands-on with managing this land, and basically we told them to stuff off, and now we're having to pay extra. But anyway, the positive news is that that people are fighting back on it, and it seems like it's gathering pace. Having given no explanation nor rationale for doing so, United Utilities will cut ties with more than 30 shoots when their lease comes up for renewal, damaging lives, risking rural economies, and casting aside wildlife and conservation initiatives in the areas affected. Whether you are one of United Utilities' 7.3 million customers or just care about the future of shooting, conservation, and rural landscapes, you can lodge a complaint directly with the company's top-level management about the decision. Join us and stand up for shooting by emailing United Utilities Chief Executive Louise Beardmore directly using this. Oh, wow. Spicy BASC. Is that like a slight that is BASC doxing the hell out of somebody? Fair dues, they deserve it. United Utilities pushing back. Throughout the customer service and complaint section of its website, United Utilities asked repeatedly, did we fall short? Did we fall short for conservation, for shoots, for gamekeepers, for their families, for farmers, land managers, beaters, pickers up, and for rural businesses? Falling short feels like an understatement. BASC is mobilizing a response against the company's decision, firstly taking out a series of adverts in newspapers and digital news outlets covering United Utilities operating area. Oh, you spicy boys. Obviously, yes. Oh, is that one of the what's he holding there? It looks like he's just sad about his twig. But yes, so they're going to be, wow. Yeah, okay, fair play. Good on you, BASC. The advert featured in the Warrington Guardian and the Lancaster Telegraph, which have combined news readership of 50,000 and 1.7 million per month across their websites. Continue to watch our website for further developments. So, fair play. BASC is mobilizing and really getting behind it. At least, this 7-figure fighting fund that they have, they do seem to be putting it to good use where game shooting is concerned. That's for sure. And I think I did read somewhere else where this company they have been inundated with complaints, and they didn't predict, or they didn't expect to get this sort of backlash, and it is causing them to reevaluate, well, not reevaluate, but certainly to review it. So I think there is definitely movement going on there, and a bit of positivity where that is concerned. Hopefully the decision will get overturned. Black Guinea Pig, the pistol and Spaz 12 Suffolk rifle head also didn't help. This is the first I've ever heard of a Spaz 12 being involved. I was aware of the pistol. But the thing is, it's like we're so gossipy in this industry. That's for certain. Because I have heard about 20 different accounts of what happened from Suffolk, and from fairly well-informed individuals. But but yeah, I think the long of the short of it is that they were very lucky not to end up in prison, and they should be grateful that all that happened is that they lost their RFD, from what I understand. And anyway, on that negative note, from what has been an incredibly positive stream in comparison all round, I would say. Before you all go on that more positive note, hit that like button. Make sure you are subscribed. We'll be doing this again same time next week. Yes, because we're heading up. So next weekend, Thursday should be free, but we'll be heading up on the Friday. It's the Coats of Iron match being held at Northcote's Butts. The team, the Rossendale team that run the match, it is always an astounding match. I had the pleasure of shooting it last year. I really need to get the video out for that. There's a number of match videos I need to get out, but yeah, it was like the last one's gone, and it's been a year. Whoops, I've been busy. I got married and went on honeymoon, and all other sorts of excuses. But yeah, it's a fantastic match. It's the slug stage last year was absolutely insane. I think I showed it on the channel. It was like a mini rifle stage with 12 gauge slug. I have never shot anything like it in my life, and I really hope I will be genuinely disappointed if there is not a similar slug stage this year, because that was, I think, one of the highlight stages of the year, and I was buzzing, like absolutely buzzing coming off of it, and Connors forgot to hit record. Thank you, Connors. Yeah, prick. That's literally one of the best stages I've ever done in my life, and he forgot to hit record on the camera. Typical. But yeah, the match itself is not all on one stage. It's usually a very technical match, which admittedly I don't enjoy as much. I prefer more run and gun and more sort of athletic and fast paced, explosive sort of stages. Which is what we had at Derwent Valley the other week, which I think is why I did so well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the Coats of Irons, the contraptions that they come up with, the stages that they come up with is always incredibly interesting. So yeah, but that will be next week. Hopefully there'll be some stage diagrams out by then. If there's not already, I need to go hunting for them so I can start getting my my mental my mind set on it. But yeah, anyway, on that note, guys, I am going to leave it there for this evening. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you are subscribed for future videos and future streams. A big thanks for joining me this evening, and of course, hope you all have a shooting filled week ahead of you, and you managed to hit the range this weekend. And as always, guys, I hope to see you soon.